Italy is facing a growing exodus of young people seeking better opportunities abroad.
A tourist in Rome pays €2 for an espresso, takes a selfie at the Colosseum, and calls it La Dolce Vita. Meanwhile, the barista serving them earns barely €1,200 a month and still lives with his parents at 32. This is Italy in 2025. Beautiful, but brutal to survive in.
Italy goes to the polls this weekend. In the south of the country, poverty levels and unemployment are comparatively high.
Many young Italians are now looking for an unprecedented political compromise that would referee what is a growing generational rift.
So, tourists arrive in Italy chasing the dream. Gondolas in Venice, sunsets in Positano, fashion in Milan. But for those who live there, the postcard image comes with a crushing price tag. Inflation has slowed since its 2022 peak, yet prices remain painfully high. A simple loaf of bread that cost €1.50 a few years ago now sells for €2.20. Olive oil, central to nearly every Italian kitchen, jumped nearly 40% in 2023 after droughts devastated harvests. Even the sacred espresso, long held at €1 as a kind of cultural standard, now costs closer to €1.50 or €2 in many cities. Housing makes things even harsher. In Rome, Milan, and Florence, a modest one-bedroom apartment averages between €1,000 and €1,200 per month. For young workers earning around €1,400, more than half their salary disappears into rent alone. The romantic vision of Italian life evaporates quickly when survival feels more like an accounting exercise. But if rising prices weren't enough,
nothing is certainly for the future, and we are very afraid for the future.
Italians face another reality: wages that simply refuse to grow.
We want to work, but they don't let us. We just don't have the opportunities.
The so-called solutions on the table are far from perfect. One of them, raising the retirement age to save money.
Italy has been trapped in a wage stagnation crisis for decades. In real terms, salaries today are no higher than they were in the early 1990s. Compare that to countries like Germany, where wages have steadily increased, and you begin to see the problem. For young Italians, it is devastating. 1 in 5 under the age of 30 is unemployed. Those who do find work are often stuck with temporary contracts, earning just over €1,000 per month. Even graduates in medicine, engineering, or architecture struggle to secure stable jobs that reflect their skills. This hopelessness fuels a mass exodus. Tens of thousands of Italians leave every year for Germany, Britain, or North America. The country educates them, then watches them go, taking their energy and ideas with them. Economists call it a brain drain. Italians simply call it survival. And when so many young people leave, it feeds into another crisis, one that is changing Italy's very future.
According to experts, Italy's decreasing population is the most pressing issue that needs to be addressed.
Experts say that if the trend continues, Italy's population of 59 million could fall by almost 1 million in 2030.
The political turmoil in Italy may indeed have consequences for the country's economy. The question is how far-reaching.
But many agree on one thing. In the last few decades, governments have failed to build a strategy to prevent Italy from falling further.
Italy is one of the oldest nations in the world, with almost a quarter of its citizens over the age of 65. At the same time, its birth rate has collapsed to 1.2 children per woman, one of the lowest in Europe. Why is this happening? Because starting a family in Italy has become nearly impossible. Rent swallows incomes, childcare is expensive, and secure jobs are rare. Even government incentives, from baby bonuses to extended leave, make little impact. Many couples simply delay having children until it is too late, or decide against it altogether. This creates a dangerous imbalance. Fewer young workers are left to support growing numbers of retirees. The pension system strains, healthcare grows more expensive, and the younger generation is left carrying two burdens: their own future and the weight of an aging society. And if you want to see how these pressures play out in real life, look no further than Italy's housing market. Italy's homes are the stuff of Instagram fantasies, Tuscan villas with rolling vineyards, seaside houses along the Amalfi Coast, and centuries-old apartments with wrought iron balconies. But for Italians, these homes are often out of reach. In cities, rents devour more than half of a worker's income. Buying a home is even tougher. Banks demand high down payments, while interest rates make mortgages daunting. Rural Italy tells another story. Thousands of abandoned houses stand empty in small villages. They grab headlines when marketed to foreigners for €1. But the catch is steep renovation costs that can exceed €50,000. Add inheritance disputes and poor infrastructure, and the dream quickly turns into a burden. For young Italians, home ownership, once a rite of passage, feels more like fantasy. Many live with their parents well into their 30s, and it is so common that there is even a nickname for it, Mamoni. But even if you manage to find a place to live, you still cannot escape Italy's greatest daily frustration, bureaucracy. Few things define Italian life like its infamous bureaucracy. From opening a business to securing medical documents, the process is often painfully slow. Forms require multiple stamps, signatures, and in-person visits to government offices. Starting a business in Italy can take months compared to just weeks in places like Germany or the United States. International rankings frequently place Italy among the hardest European countries in which to do business. For ambitious young Italians, the red tape is suffocating. Instead of encouraging innovation, it drives people away. But bureaucracy is only a symptom of a much deeper problem, Italy's fragile economy. Italy's economy is large. It is the third biggest in the Eurozone, but its foundations are fragile. Public debt sits at around 140% of GDP, among the highest in the world. Political instability and decades of slow growth leave Italy vulnerable to every shock, whether global recessions, pandemics, or energy crises. For ordinary Italians, this translates into uncertainty. Companies avoid offering permanent contracts, instead relying on short-term work. That leaves workers unable to plan for the future. They cannot buy homes, start families, or invest. And when people spend less, the economy slows even further. It is a vicious cycle that makes the dream of progress feel almost unreachable. In tough times, citizens usually lean on public services like healthcare and education. But even these safety nets are under pressure. Italy's healthcare system is a source of pride, but funding shortages and regional inequalities make it unreliable. In the wealthy north, people may see specialists quickly. In the poorer south, wait times stretch into months. Many Italians turn to private clinics if they can afford them, but for struggling families, that option does not exist. The education system faces its own challenges. Universities are underfunded, classrooms overcrowded, and opportunities for research limited. Talented professors and students often leave for better institutions abroad, worsening the brain drain. For those who stay, the sense of diminishing opportunities grows heavier each year. And as if economics and services were not enough, Italy also battles a threat it cannot control: the climate crisis. Italy's beauty makes it one of the most visited countries in the world, but it also sits on the front lines of climate change. Summers in cities like Bologna and Rome now regularly push past 40 degrees Celsius, raising health risks and spiking electricity bills. In 2023, northern Italy suffered its worst drought in 70 years, drying up rivers like the Po and devastating farmland. Rice, wheat, and olive harvests collapsed, pushing food prices even higher. That same year, wildfires tore through Sicily and Sardinia, leaving charred landscapes where tourists once flocked. For Italians, climate change is not a distant theory. It is part of daily life, reshaping the economy, the environment, and even food traditions. And yet when people look to politics for solutions, they are met with another obstacle: instability. Since World War II, Italy has cycled through more than 65 governments, an average of one every 13 months. Coalition collapses, corruption scandals, and sudden leadership changes have left citizens with little faith in the system. This constant instability prevents long-term reform. Policies on jobs, housing, or climate change often collapse before they can take effect. For ordinary Italians, it feels as though no matter who is in charge, their struggles remain untouched. Trust in institutions has eroded, leaving frustration and disillusionment in its place. And yet, despite all these hardships, there is something uniquely Italian that keeps people grounded: their resilience. For all its difficulties, Italy still finds ways to keep going. Family remains at the heart of life. Sunday lunches are sacred, piazzas fill with chatter, and traditions endure. Food, music, and art provide comfort even when money runs short. This resilience does not erase the hardships, but it explains why so many Italians choose to stay. The challenge, however, lies in whether the country can adapt fast enough to keep its younger generations from leaving altogether. So Italy is still a paradise for tourists, but for those who live there, the reality is far tougher. Rising costs, stagnant wages, an aging population, and endless bureaucracy are making daily survival more difficult than ever. Unless bold reforms arrive soon, Italy risks losing the very people who should carry it forward. If you want more honest stories about life behind postcard images, like and subscribe now, because reality is rarely as pretty as the picture.